Okay.
Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So what do we know about going for refuge, if anything?
One of the three jewels.
We're going for refuge to the three jewels.
Yes.
And so who are the three jewels? Who?
Dharma, Sangha, and Buddha.
And Buddha, yes. So one of the things that we want to look into when we're thinking about going for refuge, I mean, like becoming a Buddhist or something, is what is it about the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that make them worthy of being objects of refuge? And so one of those things that we can go from our direct experience is, if we've listened to some teachings, if we then, reflected on them and then we tried to put them into practice, then our own experience of that becomes, one of the qualities of the Dharma. It's like one of the reasons why we go for refuge to the Dharma jewel, So the Dharma jewel is the true refuge, because that's what we need to realize is the Dharma in order to end our suffering and then hopefully become enlightened to benefit all sentient beings. So what are the qualities? Why would we think the Buddha might be a worthy refuge? Or what do we want to investigate to discover whether or not we think?
We want to discover his teachings to see if they work.
So first you have to investigate the teachings in order to see if they work. So the teachings on refuge come from the point of view that you've done that, and so so why would you even go to the Buddha for any teachings? What is the about?
Because the Buddha teaches the framework, the Eightfold Path, and everything that you need to know to accept or reject it.
Buddha's the
It's the path to
doctor.
enlightenment.
Buddha's the doctor and the Dharma is the medicine.
So the Buddha's the doctor and the Dharma is the medicine.
Sangha are the attendants.
Yeah, they're the assistants.
The assist-
Oh,
That's
okay.
Yep. So
good.
and the reasons why the Buddha is considered a worthy refuge is, this is what the teachings say, okay, is freed himself from all dangers. If he had not attained this, he would not be able to teach us how to do the same. To be able to, we need to rely on someone who knows how to free themselves from fear. And the Buddha, it said, has attained 4 fearlessnesses. one of which is freedom from fear. Another thing that he's skilled in is the means of freeing others. So he knows how to teach others to do this for themselves. Okay. So if he couldn't do this, there's no point in going to the Buddha for refuge. 30 has great compassion, which means he'll teach you whether or not you're doing good things, bad things, it doesn't matter. And also he would, even if you we've prayed at the cause to meet the teachings of Buddha in previous lives. So even if we haven't gone for refuge in this life, if the merits ripen well enough or something, we will still receive the help of enlightened beings in this life.
Can I ask you something?
Yes,
I hate
please.
to throw you off, but so the original followers of Buddha, and they were coming to him to have the teachings. And being as they were actually with the master, did they become enlightened at that lifetime?
And many of them did. They had a lot of merit to be born and receive teachings directly from from the Buddha. So this is, to me, a really good question. So the fourth thing that makes him worthy of refuge is that he works for the sake of others, not for power, not for material goods, not for prestige. It's all about us. So do we actually have a Buddha jewel?
Do we actually have what?
Yes,
A Buddha jewel?
yes.
When
I keep hearing that we all have Buddha potential.
so that's the Buddha jewel we've got. That's definitely true.
If we purify our mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just there. I mean, but the potential is there. So we don't have the benefit of actually living at the time of a Buddha. But we do have the benefit of living in an era where Buddhism is still taught. So so we're once removed, maybe, not quite enough merit to, be a Varanasi or receive teachings directly from the Buddha. But there'll come a time when the teachings of the Buddha will not be available. They won't be present. And so, this is a really good time to be born. So,
Do you say that because everything is impermanent? Is that why you're
well, the
saying?
teachings say that that
Is it 1,000, we're in the third 1,000-year cycle. And this is the decline. Towards the end of teaching.
but this is always true. So
Well,
the Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth Buddha of this era.
Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth.
Fourth. So, and there are 1,000 of this era.
When
It's
did
a hard
this
word.
error start?
Yeah, wow, this is so.
Obviously, I wasn't present for that.
No, but does
Well, you
anybody
answered.
know?
I don't know if anybody knows. I haven't looked it up. That's in probably the Abhidharma, the cosmology, the Buddha's cosmology. I just know that before Shakyamuni Buddha, there was Buddha Kashapa or something, and so, and then, so I know.
I did it.
Well, you haven't read enough.
Yeah,
He's not the only one.
He's not the only one.
I know that. I mean, only because I've been listening that there's thousands of Buddhists, but I
Right.
thought that they all came after
No,
him.
no.
That he's the one who's teaching us Buddhism.
He is teaching us.
Yeah,
Yep, but that's it.
and I thought he learned
No.
from his own transformation of his own mind, not from anybody else.
No,
No?
No,
Oh, wow.
Don't look at me. I didn't.
I'm looking around the whole room.
what our traditions teaches is that Buddha Shakyamuni was enlightened when he was already enlightened when he took birth in this, this universe, in this world. And he chose to be born in this world. It's a very generous act to be born as a human being in this world and try to teach the 12 deeds of a Buddha.
So he was enlightened?
Yeah.
Before becoming enlightened.
Before manifesting all the deeds of a Buddha and showing how to become enlightened. Yes.
Okay.
The Theravadan tradition does not agree with that.
What do they think?
They think he was enlightened in that very life. So it's just a different view.
So the Mahayana is the view that you're
Well, yeah,
sharing now.
Yeah.
Right, and the Theravada is a different branch.
well, it's a different view. Yeah, there are three, the Buddha taught all the teachings for the Theravadins.
You did? Oh, boy.
You need to read up a little. Because you're so shocked.
I know. It reminds me of the day that I learned that Anne was your sister, and not only your sister, your twin. Do you remember
I can't believe you didn't know that.
Yes. You remember that too.
Okay,
We had good laughs, didn't we?
okay. So how does a person become a Buddha? Let's skip the history lesson and move on.
Okay. How does someone
Study.
become a Buddha?
Study.
Follow the path. Confer with other Buddhists or your Sangha, so you can exchange views and come to a better understanding.
And what do you have to, so you're following the path,
Get out of yourself.
so what do you finally have to do to become a Buddha?
Become enlightened.
Well, you have to have realizations.
Realization.
So you go beyond just knowing the teachings and reflecting on the teachings, you actually have realizations of the teachings. And by realization, we mean they have a direct experience of emptiness, of impermanence, of everything. They go beyond conceptual thought about it, So they've actually generated true cessations. So true cessations are the third noble truth of the way, that suffering can end. How does it end? Through true cessations. How do we develop true cessations? From following true paths. So, but you have to have realizations of the paths in order to cease your afflictions, to cease your ignorance in order to come fully enlightened. So you have to, in order to just be liberated from samsara, like arhats are, and you have to get rid of all your afflictive types of mind. Okay. To become omniscient, you have to remove the very, very, very subtle imprints from having had all those disturbed states of mind. And so those are called cognitive obscurations. And that's what bodhisattvas are working on the pure grounds, 8th, 9th, and 10th grounds, where they're liberated from samsara, but they have to remove that very subtle residue from all the eons of.
They become aware of it first, and then
I don't know quite what that awareness is like.
okay.
Only a Buddha can experience conventional truth and ultimate truth at the same time. So beings that are liberated because they've realized emptiness can only experience ultimate truth when they're in meditative equipoise on emptiness, where there's no appearance of any conventional truth, any relative truth. Buddhas can do this. They're aware of everything all at once. Did you have a question? Okay,
I'm just listening.
so
I love this.
Me too.
so for me, part of my process of going for refuge, not that this is relevant for you, but is examining what they say about a Buddha and seeing if it makes sense. So Buddha's omniscient. It no longer relies on conceptual thought, experiences everything as it is, all at once. He sees the past, present, and future simultaneously, experiences that in every moment. Language is not an obstacle. Capable of generating form, like Shakyamuni Buddha did, in order to teach ordinary sentient beings. It can also generate the form called the Sambhogakaya, which is depicted in most of the tankas of the, like Manjushri, the Bodhisattvas, in the celestial silks, all that kind of stuff, instead of just the robes of a monk. And that's to teach bodhisattvas. That's what they look like in the Pure Lands teaching their bodhisattva students. It's called the enjoyment body. Buddhas can also manifest as anything that might benefit us. That's just an emanation. They can emanate a bridge. They can emanate, words on a page. They can emanate whatever is needed. And if you've created the cause to benefit from that help, those have to come together. It's not just one-sided. So we have to create the cause to be helped by enlightened beings. And they can help us in inconceivable ways. What they cannot do is change our minds.
So is cause and desire closely related? Because if I have the desire, but maybe
No, merit would be the cause.
so.
Wishing won't make it so. Wishing is how we start to try to do the things that might make it so,
Yeah.
our prayers and all that kind of stuff. But we actually have to accumulate merit. We have to do good things, positive actions, in order to create the cause. On the same page?
Yes.
Okay. So every part of a Buddha is his mind. So you'll see some things, some flowery language in some of the prayers and things. It talks about a single pore, the single hair of a Buddha, has, they're just all these things. So that's because what appears to us as the same kind of body we have, what appears to bodhisattvas is sort of the same kind of holographic image that, they have, isn't as it actually is. The Buddha doesn't have to take form. The Dharmakaya is the mind of the Buddha and the emptiness of the mind of the Buddha. There's not any matter involved there. So every hair on the Buddha's body is omniscient.
Is omission?
Knowing everything.
Because it's not really a hair on the Buddha's body. It's mind manifesting as hair on the Buddha's body. A Buddha will appear in whatever form will help us. So it's not just human beings, that they might emanate for, like think about guide dogs, that Buddhas might be helping the guide dogs.
Well, if the mind is non-physical,
Yep.
then. And how could it be part of the hair?
be part of a hair. It's not a part of the hair. It is the hair.
It is the hair.
Yeah.
And the hair is physical, correct?
Nope. Nope. It just appears that way to us.
Gotcha, okay.
We can't see it otherwise. We don't have the ability to see the mind of a Buddha. Other Buddhas can. Bodhisattvas can see the Sambhogakaya, which is sort of like the celestial six, but it's also more of a body of light. You know, it looks like that. So these are inconceivable qualities, right? But when you think about, all right, if they're saying the Buddha's omniscient, knows past, present, future all at once in every moment, can manifest as anything that is needed, blah, 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 blah. First of all, it makes sense a Buddha would have to be omniscient. If a Buddha can help each and every sentient being in exactly the way they need, it's kind of a requirement that he knows exactly what every being needs. So I go backwards like this, because I can't imagine an enlightened being, you know, but I can imagine if they existed, that would be true. They'd have to be omniscient because of what we talk about the Buddha's qualities.
Do you think we may have met a Buddha already in our lifetimes?
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Yeah, sure.
But you just don't know.
No, we don't know. Yeah.
But that would be one of the reasons to have compassion for all living beings, because they could be a Buddha.
Yep. So why, you know, treating all sentient beings the same is a good idea.
Be a Buddha.
You know, because we never know. So that's one of the qualities, is that, and that under the qualities of Dharma. So one of the good qualities of the Dharma or one of the qualities of the Dharma, since intention, when you set an intention and then you have, you know, you have an idea of what the effect of your intention is, you know, you want to benefit all sentient beings. We can't see the minds of others, right? So we can't tell if anybody's actions are virtuous or non-virtuous.
Well, if someone's gossiping and then if I think that's non-virtuous, that's my judgment.
You could say
Not true.
that action doesn't strike you as virtuous,
Okay.
but since you don't know what's in the mind of that person doing it, there may be a very virtuous reason for it.
That's a crazy thought.
Yeah, but there could be.
Well, think of it. Lama Yeshe talked to everybody, you know, and you start up a conversation, talk about anything. Why? Why would that be useful?
Get people's thoughts on things so that he could, I don't know, maybe help them see a better way of thinking about it. No?
No, he basically made friends with everybody. Like if he's on the train or something, he'd make friends.
Oh,
The point of that is to create a karmic connection with as many people as possible.
So he's helping them.
Yes, so that they can meet the Dharma at
Oh,
some
wow.
point.
Wow.
So that he's just chit-chatting, you know, whatever, you know, so it would look like, you know, idle speech.
so it doesn't look like idle speech.
It does look like idle speech.
Oh,
It just isn't idle speech.
Oh, and that's why we can't judge.
Yeah, yes. This is a big reason why we want to get out of the habit of judging others. This does not mean we can't judge actions. You know, we just don't know the point of other people's actions.
Maybe
So
they don't either.
then they're not Buddhas. The point is, we can't read people's minds, no matter how much we think we can. It's not true. So being able, to me, this is that great advice of like giving people the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume you know what's going on in their minds. All that means, it doesn't mean you want to emulate them, It just means that when you're looking at whether you want to have a particular conversation or not, you need to tell whether or not you're doing it for a Dharma purpose or just to kill time. It's not about judging other people's actions.
But you don't have to be around that if you see that as a
If it's not helpful to you,
Yeah.
if it's, that's right. So instead of trying to get in other people's heads and deciding whether or not what they're doing has a virtuous motivation, we just need to focus on ourselves and choose what actions we do of body, speech, and mind, and see if we think they are useful.
In Zen, they say to know thyself, forget thyself.
Yeah. We have to be
It's a lot of
super,
knowing yourself.
but you have to be super aware of what's going on in your own mind, what words you're saying, all that kind of stuff, in order to focus on others. Otherwise, we're careless with our speech. We're careless with our actions. And that's all about us. If we're really trying to benefit others from moment to moment, we have to really know what's going on in our own mind, not for our own sake, but to protect others. So being mindful about what's going on in our mind is a way of helping us help others. So that, like, say we realize, wow, I did not get enough sleep last night. I am really tired. And that's a terrible condition for me because I tend to be impatient or I'm not listening, I'm not able to be attentive. So perhaps I'm going to reschedule a conversation with someone. Perhaps I won't go out with my friends tonight because I need to catch up on some sleep, whatever, so that tomorrow I'm better able. Yeah.
Is the AC on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I don't feel it.
Maybe you need to get under a vent because, boy, when you're under a vent, it's very strong.
75, okay. That's why I feel it.
Yeah. It's set on 73. We can't do much about that.
It takes a while to come down.
And it's so humid these days. It's supposed to be less humid this weekend. Anyway. So any methods free of negative mind are Dharma methods, no matter how different they appear. But any method stained with greed for, this life's comforts, with ignorance of karma, any mind of hatred is never a Dharma method, no matter what it, how it looks. Like, we all have those classic, things of like, you see a politician kissing babies and shaking. But it's just, it's to be popular. So like you could see Lama Yeshe's willingness to have conversations with everybody, meet everybody, try to start up conversations with everybody, that he's just trying to be popular.
Oh, that's what we would think.
We could think that.
But that's not his motive.
But that's not what it was about. It had nothing to do with this life, worldly concerns, any of those things. So
It just flows with him.
yeah, this is the strength of Sangha, practitioners who've had realizations, that they ooze it's not because they're no longer forgetful of the point. It's everything they do. So if you have trusted a teacher, you can start kind of, that's kind of the idea of like, with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, it was just sort of like really easy to just assume whatever he was doing was it was for someone's benefit, and because he just radiated bodhicitta. There was just no doubt about it.
You were saying the other night about when the rivers were really polluted and they did something about it, cleaned it up. And then I get into the judgment with our current president about him rolling back
Mm-hmm.
all the environmental regulations. So I shouldn't judge. I shouldn't.
What is one of the things we have to look at with that?
Our own view or
Our own karma.
karma.
Our own karma.
But you can't say wrong and right. You can't say.
You can say the action is wrong to you. What you can't say is that the motivation of the person who's changing it is negative. You just don't know. Obviously, we have to assess actions,
Yeah.
but we don't do that. We go way beyond that. And we can even go to the point of hating someone for their actions when we don't have any idea why. And we can't know why. We literally can't read his mind or her mind or anybody's mind until we have a few more realizations. Yeah.
But we can have compassion without condoning the action.
Oh, yeah. Compassion has nothing to do with condoning it.
Well-
We can see an action as leading to suffering, and it may not lead to that person's suffering, because that person might be a Buddha. But but that action is results. We can have compassion for all the people who may suffer from decisions of people in power. And we can have compassion for the person in power that if it isn't negatively motivated, it's creating the cause to spend, a few lifetimes in the hell realms. So compassion's always an appropriate response. Because we're stuck with the person forever.
What do you mean?
Consciousness don't cease. We're all just recycled minds.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, so having our relationship shaped by current events is not very wise. Because they'll be back, and so will you. And hatred is a much more, it's a much more likely karma to ripen because it's really powerful.
Mm.
Powerful, and it's negative. So,
And you think that'll, I mean, I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry, but are you saying that there's a lot of people that have hatred in their heart
yeah,
in the world?
yeah,
That's what you're saying?
not every moment.
Oh, not every moment. So they're not, they're not an evil person, but you can never
Nobody is
say
an
that
evil
anyway,
person.
right?
Yeah, you have to, this is part of the thing when you read the Dharma or listen to teachings, is you have to put it into context. You have to not forget everything else you've learned, and try to remember, no one, the whole reason we can change things is because we're not that. We're not our states of mind. We can change our states of mind, And none of us, our consciousnesses never cease. So, like, I remember being motivated with my dad to I want to clean this relationship up because I don't want to repeat it in some future life.
Mhm.
So it's kind of interesting. These are tough, though. I mean, there's no question that this is hard.
So
Yep.
samsara
hmm
is where we are.
The cycle of birth and
life.
death, uncontrolled birth and death.
And so the reason it's continuing is because there is still hatred.
No, it's your samsara continues because you have negative states of mind.
But
But that, it's all of us.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
right, but you could be born in a different universe in the next life if you had this really pure mind.
Yeah, but
in the
that
next
Margaret
life.
got me. Yeah, I'm saying this,
But we're not, but we just have to realize that it isn't, it's not our collective karma ripening.
it's not.
Can I finish the sentence, please?
I want to make sure I heard you say that. It's
Well, you're not listening.
I'm trying to listen.
Okay, let me finish my sentence. Okay. When we die, it's our karma ripening for that projects us into the next life. Nobody else's, just ours. Everything we experience in this life, past lives, future lives, is the ripening of our karma. Now, we share space with other beings who have similar karmas ripening.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So if you get your act really together and you have realizations and all that kind of stuff and you become a bodhisattva, you might not be born on this planet with these problems because you won't have created the cause to.
I get it.
If you're not liberated yet, though, you'll be born somewhere,
Right.
So once you're liberated, though, you can choose where, if you want to manifest somewhere, you can choose, you can manifest there because you've got disciples there and you're going to try to help them. That makes sense?
Yes.
Are we all lost now?
Can I ask a question, Venerable?
Please don't.
When you said that, you said something like that the karma of hatred is powerful karma. Is that what you said?
Hatred's
What
a
about
very
wholesome states of mind like love and compassion? What about the karma of those states of mind? Are they less powerful, or I didn't really understand the statement that you made. I guess that's my question.
okay. So contaminated virtue, which describes our minds of love and compassion, they're not pure. They are full, they're mixed with attachment, all those kind of things, are not as powerful as our mind of hatred because it can be intense. Hatred's an intense state of mind, So unlike our love, which is watered down by our attachment, so this is why, slowly, as we clean up our act and remove our self-cherishing, our virtues become more powerful. It's just like when you try to purify an action, it depends on the power of your mind, right? So you can imagine that a bodhisattva trying to purify some actions would have a very powerful mind. They've created the mind of bodhicitta. They may still have regrets because they weren't skillful with something or other, they're not omniscient yet. So, but their mind, when they purify, would be very powerful because it's under the influence of bodhicitta. Our minds are under the influence of ignorance all the time, so they're never as powerful, Hatred doesn't need lack of ignorance. Ignorance is in there. It's made more powerful by our ignorance, Our virtues are made less powerful due to our ignorance. So this is why you have to get rid of your ignorance in order to be liberated at all. Does that make sense now? A little better?
I feel like my head's exploding.
I'm
because
sorry.
I've heard so much already that you're only talking half of the whole lesson. And I'm like, there's so many things I just heard that.
I know, that's the way it is.
That's why it's repetitive.
And sometimes it comes together.
Well, I feel like a lot of things did.
Well, then
Yeah.
just rejoice. Really, I mean, that's how it works. So even people who seem to understand intellectually the teachings just right away, they just listen to really complicated teachings and they get it. They can answer questions, reasonably intelligent about it, all of stuff. That's not the same as a realization, It's different when you have an experience of something. Like you all know when you've been reading something or, and you kind of, and then suddenly some of it just sinks in a whole new way and you kind of get it in a different way. Well, a realization is like that by, times a million.
I was thinking that this cycle that we're living in, the samsaric cycle,
Samsara is just a label for cyclic existence.
and I kept thinking that this is the real world.
Yeah, that's the mistake we
What I'm
make.
saying? I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but I was just thinking that this, I'm coming back into this world if I come back,
No, that's not correct.
but that's not correct.
No,
I
because
was thinking that this is
the only
I don't
world.
know how to-
Well, this is our grasping. We think this must be the world.
Yeah,
And it's just our view of it that's wrong. Neither is true. This is a manifestation of our ripening karma.
and hatred is a very strong emotion, which is why we are
Have
in
wars,
samsara.
well, not we, but it's one of the causes for samsara. All our negative states of mind, attachment, greed, hatred, anger, impatience, all of those.
So if our collective,
But why are you worried about the collective?
okay, so because that's what has created the samsara cycle that we're in. It's a collected,
That's what makes it's just you're making this place too solid,
maybe, yeah, maybe.
you
Okay,
know,
maybe.
because like how many people died today? I always forget what number it is. I'd say 150,000 people died today. I'm just making up it. Okay. All of those 150,000 may or may not be back to this world.
I get that.
Okay, so but our experience here is still going on, right? The fact, even though they're missing. What does that mean? That means
Right.
the condition for them to be in this world is no longer present.
That might be a good thing.
You could be, yep, and you can be going straight to the hell realms,
No,
that's
I
fine.
mean, this world, the universe is
Yeah.
endless, so.
So if you do a really good job of working on ethics, working on, subduing your negative states of mind, really trying to understand how things actually exist, not how we perceive them to exist, you might end up in a place that doesn't have pollution. Say you take really good care of the planet. Even though we can't fix the planet's problems. Maybe you and your part really minimize the harm you do. Maybe you minimize the harm you do in hurting animals. So maybe you're born in a universe where you don't have to kill in order to survive. That's just a function of this system.
So I guess I was just on the tail of what Tali had asked about the fact about love and compassion and kindness not being as strong.
Okay, why is it not as strong?
Because we don't have a pure mind.
Right. Okay, does hatred require a pure mind? No. So it's not diminished at all. Yeah, okay. So that makes sense now?
Yes.
Yeah. Deepa, you need to mute your microphone.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Okay. So one of the things that the Dharma Jewel gives us is helping us understand how it works, how karma works, how ignorance works, studying the teachings, thinking about the teachings, asking questions about the teachings, investigating the teachings, all help us to stay on track. going for refuge can help remind us, and you should go for refuge. If you know, if you're Buddhist every day, you should go for refuge, say the refuge prayer, you know. This can help remind us of what we're trying to abandon and what we're trying to adopt. You know, that we're not gonna, you know, go to TikTok and take their advice. You know, we're gonna try to, you know, not take random advice from everybody, you know, get everybody's opinion, read everybody's total strangers' opinions, you know, blah, blah, blah. We turn to the teachings for advice. You know, these are the ways in which it can protect us from samsaric beings, which includes ourselves. Yeah.
I noticed a few months ago I had a lot of aversion.
Uh-huh.
And is that rooted in a past life?
It's a habit.
It's a habit.
It arises because you have a habit.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's good. I was noticing it. It was
Yes, that's
very
excellent.
strong, and I've never realized it that way before.
Yeah. That's the only way we can change things is when we're aware that, oh, look what I'm doing. I have tremendous aversion, you know,
Good, too.
but
Feels
the-
good to have
It's
aversion.
good to notice that.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
recognize that you recognize this.
so when you recognize things like that, then you want to turn to the teachings to figure out what to do about it. What's the antidote to that, you know? So one of the things is you learn, oh, what does aversion even mean?
Hmm.
You know,
Oh, I thought you were asking, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were asking what does an aversion mean? I was gonna talk, but,
Okay, go ahead. Talk.
well, I think it means a resistance to something that you are not wanting to accept something.
Yeah, well, it's very basic. You know, you're either getting what you don't want,
Okay.
you know. That's generally aversion. Aversion arises because we're getting something we don't want, or we're not getting something we do want, and we don't like it.
And I wonder why there's certain likes and dislikes. Like I like this
That's just-
color. I don't like
Yeah,
this.
that just comes from, that's just habits, and it's, you know, like our
There's
preferences.
no reason for it.
There must be,
There has to be, right?
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 What is the reason? It's not the fact that this is red or
Karmic
blue.
Karmic habit.
It
Yeah, that's
has
what I-
nothing to do with that.
No.
Why do we have anything we like?
We've developed
Create the merit.
We created the merit to have a pleasant experience. So in this life, it might be blue. You know, it's not more complicated than that. You know.
Yeah,
The pleasure or the suffering that occurs, accompanies, you know, those feelings that we experience when we meet an object are the ripening of our karma. You know, so our negative karma, when it's ripening, it's because some condition is allowing some negative seed to ripen. You know, so when we taste something and go, "Ugh," my brother hates coriander, or yeah, that's what it's called. And what's the other word for it?
Spice.
Cilantro. Hates it. And so we've gotten some sushi that had, it was green, and it turned out it was
That
cilantro.
was the salon, right?
Yeah, and he just, I mean, you wouldn't believe there's a chemical reason for it, you know? And he was just like, and none of the rest of us are like, you know, you can like it or not like it, but some people have an actual chemical reaction to certain taste. You know, and it's really hilarious to watch someone take those tests for that. Because like everybody else is going, you know, and they're going, get this out of me. Anyway, that's karma ripening, you know? It doesn't matter whether it's cilantro. I mean, it's just the unpleasant experience is the ripening of a negative seed. We get caught up in the manifestation of these things. When it's just, you know, everything's a manifestation of our karma. And like you said, that's the collective karma. So like, the way things look all reflect, a karma that we've had for this world. That's why we're born here. And it doesn't mean specifics necessarily. I mean, it can be just, like on this planet, in order to survive, living beings depend on killing other living beings.
You mean to eat?
No, just to survive. I mean, you can't walk on the ground without killing something. When you drive, you kill all sorts of things. It's just the nature of this place. What is the cause of that? Our minds. We have the habit of killing in order to get what we want. Whether, in this place, it's food, and we can't do anything about it because that karma's ripened. What we can do is try to minimize the suffering we cause. And that's not easy. It's like Venerable Tendron loves to bring up, like, okay, you think organic farming is so wonderful, so think about all the insects they breed specifically to kill other insects for you instead of using pesticides.
Instead of using it. Yeah.
Mass murder. So, no reason to be cocky about any of this stuff. We live on a planet where that's the reality. But we make up stories instead, about how, oh, but they don't suffer much. It's just an insect.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's right. Squish their body. I'm sure it hurts.
I'm sure it was delightful. But anyway, so, okay. So really understanding like the 10 non-virtues and their opposite, the 10 virtues, protecting life, protecting people's possessions, protecting people's relationships, protecting their belongings, all those kind of things, as opposed to killing, stealing, lying, cheating, That's what makes the Dharma a jewel, is it's giving us very specific instructions on what to do and what not to do. So you're not creating as much negative karma. So you can, even when you're eating something and if you sit there and know, you accept responsibility for the fact that things have died in order for you to eat this meal, and that you're sorry about that. And you hope you create the cause to be born in a place where that doesn't have to happen. You're helping mitigate your karma for the future. You're respecting the form, every sentient being's life. It is through the Dharma that we learn how to create true, what is a true path and how to have a true cessation so that we can, someday be liberated from this mess of cyclic existence. So so people don't start there with refuge. You start with smaller stuff, like I go for refuge because I know I'm a better person having met the teachings. I know that it's a reliable guide for an ethical way to live. I know it's a reliable guide for how to talk to people, how to, all that kind of stuff, and so, that's what, the rest of it, like, do I take refuge because I know I have Buddha potential and I'm going to become enlightened in the future? Well, I can't say I really. Looking forward to the day, but I mean, that's okay. But I have been investigating the path, the teachings to see if it makes sense to me. And it makes sense to me that an enlightened being would have to be omniscient. It makes sense to me that they would have to have no bias, perfect equanimity,
Why does it make sense to you that they would have to be omniscient?
Because if they're going to help someone exactly correctly, they have to know everything about that being.
Oh, okay, I was thinking about it differently. No,
You know, enlightened beings see our Buddha potential. We are not lost causes.
That's good to know.
But we want to go in the direction that makes us less and less a lost cause, you know, you know,
That's the trick.
yeah, well, you know, yeah.
So what about something that happened in my past and I I regret it, I want to make it better, but there's no way I can be in touch with that person, whether they died or whatever,
Right.
know.
Okay,
So you don't really have a chance to make it better.
no, and that isn't what purification's about. Purification is about making your mind better. So that you will not be motivated to do whatever that was that you regret to someone else in the future.
Rejoice.
You know, that's what it's about. So that's why we can purify any action, whether the person we harmed is dead or not. Doesn't matter, because that's not the point. The point is to develop the resolve to not do that again.
So I just saw something because I want to make something better so I can have the result.
Right.
And then that's,
Self-cherishing.
yeah.
You're making it about you, not about the person you harmed.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and that's what we do, isn't it? There's something in it for us, but of course there's something in it for us.
Yeah, in the long run, because we're purifying our karma.
Yeah, and then guess what? We get nothing but positive karma ripening, and then we finally get out of this whole mess. You know, we win. It's a total win-win situation. Why are you blinking?
The key is that.
Oh, I would not have the slightest idea what you were pointing at.
Plus, he walked out.
A young mind
I
can.
He wasn't gonna be able, then.
And there was no key in the
When
door.
he came in, I knew I had to point.
Okay, and I thought you were pointing at me. and I'm
No,
like,
I-
what did I do?
I'm
You know,
sorry.
right away.
Right away. That's a habit. Well, and that's also a habit. It's not just self-cherishing. You have a mind, your first thought is, first of all, I'm the center of their attention. And also that somehow I might have done something wrong. Always going towards the negative is a habit. And so one of the things that can help us is try to change our mind towards the positive, which is a virtuous condition for good things to ripen. As long as it's not, like we can turn everything into poison by our motivation, by, like doing everything just so we get the reward.
Mhm.
We really want to train our minds to not make it about us, even though we will benefit. It's definitely a win-win situation. So,
Remember I told you earlier that, my first thought was, oh, I don't deserve this.
yep,
But I immediately realized that I don't want to go with that thought. I'm
Yeah.
trying to change that thought, and it was quick.
yep. See, that's what practice does.
So that's getting a little better.
Yeah, so you rejoice. That's absolutely. So and we want to notice these things. We want to notice when we either recognize a negativity, we want to notice that. We want to note and we want to rejoice about it. And then when we try to apply an antidote to whatever that negativity is, even if it just means keeping your mouth shut, and rejoice about that. Then we want to notice that, oh, it was really quick when, I've improved. You want to rejoice about that, And then when you slip,
Mhm.
you would just notice that and go, oh, well, that's good. I noticed that, as opposed to, I thought I had this down.
That's it. That's what I do too.
Yeah, well, and that's something we want to try to avoid.
Beating yourself up.
Yep. Well, it's practicing speech that we really want to.
Making me realize that I do,
abandon.
I mean,
Yeah.
do that a lot, so
The
thank you,
second-
Sharon, for bringing it up. Yes, yeah,
The second arrow you were talking about.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. That's how we layer suffering on ourselves. Is, all sorts of negative karma ripens throughout our lives. If we add to it by beating ourselves up for it or getting mad or whatever it is negative mind we do, we're adding to the suffering. And it's not necessary. And so then we want to notice, see, even if we just notice those things, like, oh, here I go again. Why me? I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. My disposal is broken. And, just sort of like, everything breaks at once, you're just like, okay, the dishwasher doesn't work out, the disposal doesn't work. I mean, keep an eye out for the hot water heaters and make sure it's not leaking, but it's like, but when we realize like, oh, we're kind of going, oh, really? Why me? And then we catch ourselves going, well, because you created the car. This is just the way it is. This is samsara. Things fall apart, blah, blah, blah. Then you can rejoice that you caught yourself, you were applying an antidote to the faulty thinking you had the second before, or at least you shut up, whatever it is. Not give it any more power. Because when we keep going with it, we're rehearsing it and it gives it more power. So the Sangha, the other jewel, these are, in our basic terms, it's just, our community of practice, and that we help each other practice. In the jewel category are beings who've actually had realizations, Arya Sangha, and this is about us having confidence, like that, because we meet people sometimes and we think, wow, they are way ahead of me in the ethics game and all this kind of different stuff. I meet monks and nuns that seem to really, practice well, and you see how they talk or whatever, and so that helps you practice well. If it helps you beat yourself up, then you want to work on that. So, and we had talked, about, the difference, the causal refuge and resultant refuge. So the causal refuge are these three jewels. The Dharma will create the cause for you to, actualize your Buddha potential. And that's the resultant refuge. So as you progress along, with the teachings, with your practice, and, when you start having realizations, then you have confidence that you will become a Buddha. And so then you're taking refuge in that, in your own potential and the development of that potential. There's a stage on the paths where you'll become a Buddha. And it's,
wow.
yeah, it's before you realize emptiness directly. So that's kind of good. That would be helpful. But we have to get there. We have to create the cause for that to happen. So, and this is how we do it. But becoming more familiar with the teachings, and try to act, put them into practice. Yeah.
So when you become a non-returner,
That's
that.
Theravada. That's a different.
Oh, that's okay.
I would think at the level of non-returner, you would know because you're not going to return.
Right.
So, yeah. So we talk about 5 paths: the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning. That's called enlightenment. The path of accumulation, the first path, to enter the path, you have to have uncontrived bodhicitta. That's the gateway. So what does uncontrived bodhicitta mean?
What was the question?
What does uncontrived bodhicitta mean?
Uncontrived. I don't even know what uncontrived means.
You just-
There's no thought process.
It's effortless.
Definitely, you don't think about it. You don't say, I'm gonna be nice to this person.
Yeah.
It is.
And so uncontrived bodhicitta becomes a main mind. When you generate uncontrived bodhicitta, it now influences every moment of mind. That wish to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's a pretty powerful mind.
Wow.
And it's very useful. I think that everything gets easier from that point on. Because your self-interest simply doesn't come up. You're thinking always in terms of becoming enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. And some people practice that way. They practice, with before they do anything, not think anything, but before they act on any thought or before they speak, before they do something, they think, well, this get me closer to enlightenment. Because we can make every activity Dharma. It's a matter of the way we're thinking about it and our motivation and, dedication at the end. So that's a way to practice. You can, and lots of people do things, I know I've done this. If the Dalai Lama was sitting on my shoulder, how would I be behaving? How would I respond to this? How would I, all those things, just and that's using the Sangha jewel, of saying, using these tools to help us stay on track. We could stay. Would the Dalai Lama think that I should beat myself up? I still hear Thich Nhat Hanh's voice in my head all the time, where I just, because he would go, when you do something from habit that you wish you wouldn't do, and he, oh, hello, friend. I know you. So, it's this thing, it's like, I'm not going to listen to you today, So these are ways, it doesn't have to be this formal, tight thing. We can be friendly with the three jewels. We see the Dharma, the teachings, the books, everything is just this, oh, this might help me today. Not as a chore, So that's why I really always recommend people reading a book that inspires them, as well as a book that's, trying to help understanding. So you have both. But it's also why we want, when we are, like when you take refuge, ceremony kind of thing, then you're making a commitment to say the refuge prayer 6 times a day or something, and you're making, a commitment to make offerings as often as you can. And you're making a commitment to, whatever, pay homage and those kind of things. And you're making, so those things can help you stay on top of it. Just, if you fulfill the commitments, then you feel these are all just tools. It's like my vows. My vows are a tool for me to remind myself that I want to take care of my body, speech, and mind, of how I act, what I say, and what I'm thinking about. Who has to do it? Do the rules matter? The rules are meaningless if I'm not choosing to follow them. If I just say words, just okay, check that commitment off. That's not going to do me a whole lot of good either. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means that, obviously the tools work best when we're paying attention to them, when we're listening to them, taking it into our heart, going, oh yeah, there's a reason why I really would like to change this habit. Oh. So they're all helpers in that sense. Yeah. So familiarizing yourself with the 10 non-virtues. Everybody know what the 10 non-virtues are? Anybody know what the 10? Maybe that's a better way.
They're the opposite of the virtues.
What are the virtues?
Well, aren't they like love and compassion and honesty and not to, well, a non-virtue is not to steal.
Okay, so what would be the, yeah,
Yeah.
not stealing is one of them. So
Is it
what is the virtue of that?
To give something to people?
No.
No.
You don't take what is not freely given and
Yeah.
that benefits
That person,
the person.
you're protecting their possessions.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not, whereas stealing is harming that person.
And don't speak unkindly or don't have sexual misconduct.
Mhm.
And what is that about?
Being mindful of the relationship and protecting somebody's feelings and not just having sex indiscriminately just to.
It's protecting the relationships of others,
Right.
Which is why you don't have relationships with married people unless you're the one married to them, because you're not protecting their relationships. So speech, So-
Divisive speech,
divisive
lying,
speech,
divisive speech.
harsh
gossip,
speech, idle speech. The biggest waste of time is idle speech. It's the one that's so easy for us to commit, and it wastes everybody's time. That's the harm it does. So we're not protecting people's time. So harsh speech, obviously, can offend and hurt someone's feelings. Divisive speech is it's where you're trying to cause a harmonious relationship to break, so that can come under not protecting relationships. Is it's all this stuff. So there's just, but all of it's about protecting something of others. How about the ones of mind? You know what they are?
Wrong view.
Mhm. Wrong view is all about ignorance. There are 10 of them, but basically the important one is, that we don't see reality for what it is.
Anger and attachment.
Malice, or it's ill will, which is like an extreme form of anger, where you're getting, where you really could hurt somebody, and covetousness. It's that greedy mind. That's when you see things that you like and then you want them and you're quite willing to take them from someone else.
So today I was putting black rocks and white rocks to keep some stalks straight.
Mhm.
And I didn't have enough. And my friend said, well, there's so many outside in the community, you can go and take them. And I said, well, that would be stealing. But I said, that would be stealing. I don't want to do that. She said, no, you're just rearranging where the rocks are going to be, and it's still in the community.
That is such a rationalization. Which is, of course, what we do. We're good at it, aren't we?
That's kind of funny though.
It is funny. It's a very good rationalization. Yeah. But I mean, we don't have to change somebody else's mind. We just have to decide about ours.
Yeah.
You know, so
No,
but that's pretty funny,
it was funny.
you know. And she may have been just trying to help you be happy. Her motivation may have just been, how can I help Sharon be happy in this moment? You know. So there may have been no negative motivation in her mind. But the fact, you know, in your mind, though, was working on trying to protect the possessions of others.
Yeah, I don't.
And the
like-
grounds are the protection of others. I mean, let's face it, you know. So, but is, you know, so anyway. Okay. Any last second questions before we do prayers? Okay. So we came for a reason. We want to rejoice over, you know, whatever positive moments of mind we may have had, or new understandings we might have, or, you know, that we didn't waste our evening on, I don't know, what.
Daydreaming on something else.
Yep, or some stupid TV show.
Or thinking what you're gonna do when you get out.
Yeah, yeah.
When
What's
you
for
get out. I mean,
dinner?
I said that the wrong way. I
When
just meant when
Get
you
me
leave.
out of here. So we want to understand that all our positive moments of mind and all our positive actions of speech and body create the cause for positive things to ripen for us in the future. And we want them. The reason why we say for the benefit of all sentient beings is we want it to go towards the Dharma, so that we'll have Dharma resources in the future. So we'll have teachers in the future. So we'll have, you know, we'll have access to the teachings, all that kind of stuff, not just so that we have more chocolate cake, you know, that we want the positive seeds we planted produce something that will help us become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, and then dedicating at the end is, you know, helpful to be generous, because you're thinking about other, you know, you're thinking about how could this benefit others. You're also thinking about how to protect it so that it will benefit others, that kind of thing. So it's, you know, all good. So the first one, of course, gets to the main point in this, you know, in Buddhism. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of Guru Buddhas and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has not finished but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow the perfect example. So now, you know, we're kind of going through the jewels here. You know, relying on Manjushri and Samantabhadra too, for, you know, that we want to dedicate just as they, because they know more about what they were doing than we do, you know. Bodhicitta, you know, that's the teachings of how this is, you know, this is the mind we want to create. So we want to keep increasing that mind, you know, and help others and, you know, develop that mind. And of course, the whole purpose is because we want to become enlightened for the benefit of others. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so we might perform good works. Hey, whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Losang to shine forever. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever read any of the additional prayers. You can dedicate to all kinds of things. you know, specific things. This one's one of my favorites these days at the top of this page. Because of all the merits of the 3 times created by us and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other sentient beings, may there be no wars, famines, disease, quarreling, fighting, or unhappy minds. May there be great prosperity, and may everything needed be easily obtained. May all the human beings in the world be guided by spiritual leaders teaching only Dharma, and may everyone enjoy the happiness of Dharma. So here it's really important to understand what the word Dharma means.
Well, to me, Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha, and it's what we want to incorporate in our life so that we can achieve a certain level of maybe bodhicitta.
Okay. So Dharma is basically, in this context, of course, because the word Dharma means any phenomenon in Sanskrit, you know, but in the Buddhist teaching, in this context, Dharma means anything that leads you out of suffering. So it doesn't matter whether it's Buddhist or not. You know, if it's a true path, you know, the jargon doesn't matter. Just want to point that out. It has to be correct. Can't be just what we think will lead us. Because I really do believe, you know, chocolate ice cream will work. Okay. For the long life of His Holiness. In the land encircled by no mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Zik Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until His sorry. And for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, swift return, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious, Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for joining us.